Well, hello! Welcome to the release of Subspace Continuum on Steam. This is a basic setup guide for getting it running for those who have never done this before. My name is Dead, and I will be glad to walk you through this exciting process. Okay, first thing you probably notice, this is a bit of an old school setup. Pretty lo-fi, and it's a little bit confusing. Your first instinct is probably to hit play, right? What? Doesn't specify a password? What? No. Oh, okay. Okay, you need to set up a profile before you even start. So, again, a little bit old school, a little backwards. So, first thing you want to do is click on Profile. Okay. So, let's see. First thing we have profile name. You can give that any kind of name you want. I'm going to go with Dead. Okay, player name. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because this is a game with a lot of history. So there are a lot of taken names. Pretty much any name you're going to be able to think of has already been taken. So let's see. Let's try putting in Dead just for an example. Okay, and enter your password in this box here. Ship, spectate, that's fine. Well, that means you don't start in-game, but you actually start as a spectator. That's probably for the best. Resolution, I'd go up here and set this to default. That way it'll work on this menu instead of per profile. Full screen or windowed, your choice. All these you can leave alone. You can change your various macros and key definitions, swap in and out. Sometimes key definition setups, alternate definitions are useful for different ships. Something to consider. Target, and don't have to worry about that. Chats, that's where your chats will show up. Let's see, I think by default you get newbies and help, something like that when you install to Steam. Here's an important one, auto. These are commands that are entered before, right after you enter the zone. Here's a big one that you really want to put in. Oops, obscene. Obscene. This is at least if you don't mind seeing bad words in the game. Now, I think most of us are probably adults playing this, or teenagers who don't give a damn. So, please put in obscene, or else entire lines that other people type will not be seen. You will not see them, and it'll be like, yeah, you'll be talking to a wall sometimes. It'll be a little confusing, so I strongly recommend you put in obscene. The filter is pretty strict. There's a lot of words in it. So, okay. Alright, so we have a profile set up. Let's click OK. Okay, now let's try to join a zone. Okay, so select the zone you want to join. I recommend you try out all of these different zones. They all have different play styles, all have their ups and downs. My personal favorite is Trench Wars. It's the most popular zone. I also play other zones sometimes, but Trench Wars is sort of the biggest, maybe the easiest to get into to start with. So it's not a bad starting spot, but I really recommend you check out every zone. Okay, so let's try to join. Let's hit play. And, okay, invalid password for the specified user. So it doesn't tell you this has definitely been registered. It says the name you entered may already be in use by another player, in which case you should try another name. Otherwise, check your password. Okay, so, again, the old school approach, it just says, hey, try again. Did you forget? So, we're going to need to think up a name that is something quite unique, something that nobody else is going to have. So basically you just have to try names until you find something that'll actually let you in. Seems like a bit of a pain, but yeah, just keep trying. Alright, so let's see. Steam test user 5. That ought to get through. Okay, Steam test user 5. Okay. So that should go through fine. So I'll be able to hit play and enter the game. Okay. So at this point you can go ahead and enter and play happily. The rest of this tutorial will be a bit of information about how to set up the game for those who like to tweak a little bit. Okay, so we already did profiles. That's the same as if you click profile there. Macros, you don't really need to worry about those at the moment. I'll go over those a little later. Let's go over options. Okay, so on the display tab here, weapon gauge, that'll be your weapons on the left side, status gauge, your status sort of items on the right. Most people keep those on standard. I actually use text because I find it gives you a little bit more screen space, screen real estate. You can see ships from the distance. Energy bar, subtle is, again, it's just a little bit smaller. Standard is pretty normal. You can also turn it off if you want. Kill messages center. I usually leave those on the center, and enter and leave messages I usually turn off because that way you can see kills a little bit more easily. You can also send them to the chat, which will show up in the bottom left. Some people like that. And also transparent stats box. Probably a good idea to check that because again, you'll be able to see people behind stats boxes. So pretty useful. Okay, over on the chat tab, if you use a large resolution, you'll find that the font is not scaled. So you'll want to choose. You'll kind of have to choose by trial and error which font is going to work best for you. So just go through those, try them one at a time. Medium or large should work for most people. Extra large is really ridiculously large. Excuse me. Okay, chat window. This is a good option. So chat window is, if you minimize the game screen, it'll pop up a chat window. And this game has a really active community. There are people who've been playing for years and years who have, there are people who've gotten married because they met on this game. So the chat system is huge. There's a lot of private chats you can join. There's a lot of interesting communities. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff there. So having the chat window pop open when you alt tab out is really handy. So I recommend you leave that on. You can also put it on always show. That's good for if you have windowed mode and you want to still access that chat screen. Name length, you should probably, I don't know, people vary on this. This is how big the name will show as in the chat window. I put it on 19 or 20 because then you can see the full name. It's just a little handier. You don't have to look it up or anything. Message lines, so the number of lines of chat that you'll see. 8's a pretty good compromise. You end up hitting escape if you want to see all of the chat window pop up. All of the lines of chat. Note that there is no history in the game itself. There is a history in the chat window. That's another great reason to use the chat window, is if you needed to scroll back on the text, because otherwise you can't do it in the actual game window. So message lines, that's the number of lines that will actually show up in game whenever you're just playing, whether or not you've hit escape. Block obscenity, that doesn't actually do anything, so that's why you need that. That's why you need that obscene auto in the profile. Most of these you can safely ignore. Let's see, transparent messages, probably good to have on. Help messages, good for new players. I would recommend you have that on, and then you can turn it off when it gets annoying. Message alarm, little beep when you get a message. Sound mode, oh god. This is an old game. Yeah, it was released, 96? So we're talking almost 20 years old, and the sound is not up to snuff. So I turn it off. Some people play with engines off. I just play with the sound straight off because I don't know, it really bothers me. It's really low quality. It doesn't matter what quality you put on here, it just all sounds pretty much like garbage in my opinion. Some people can't live without sound, but if you find it annoys the hell out of you, turn it off. At least turn engines off, because they're like this grating Oh my god, I can't handle it. Yeah, it just gives me a headache thinking about it. So yeah, sound probably off. Radar, I think it defaults to small. I can't remember. Unfortunately, it saved my settings from my other install when I put it on Steam, so I don't have the defaults here. But so radar mode, I would change that to large. Target bounty, there'll be a different color for each player on the radar depending on their bounty. Bounty is basically, it's like how well you're doing in the game right now. Higher the bounty, so bigger the score basically. If you kill a few people, your bounty will raise. I have my target bounty as 20 because in the Zone Trench Wars, that is the bounty required for a Leviathan, or Levi, or Levy, whatever you want to call it. Ship number 4, the blue one, the big bomber. That is the bounty required for a Leviathan to attach to a Terrier, or Tear. Ship number 5, the red one, right here. Just for reference, there's the Levi, there's the Tear. So having it at 20 lets me easily see a Levi and spawn, and I can go and kill him before he can attach and wreak havoc on the base, that kind of thing. It's not very important, but that's what it is. Transparent radar, yes. Transparent map, yes. You'll get a map that'll show a bigger version of the radar if you hold down Alt by default. Show radar grid, some people like that on. Show clock, sure, whatever. Graphics, this is, yeah, a lot of people like to turn some of these options off. Detailed explosions, those can sometimes get in the way, so I often turn those off. Some people turn off like the backgrounds, which kind of look garbagey this stage in game development. But it also helps you track other ships, so maybe you want to do that. Show stars, yeah, same thing. It helps you kind of track and figure out where you are. Detailed explosions, yeah, again, I leave that off generally. Rolling ship, your game will not look nearly as nice if you take off rolling ships. But basically it's this thing, I don't know, these frames of animation where the ships are tilted to the side, to the left or right. Some people can't play without it. I really prefer rolling ships to be off. I just find it makes it easier to figure out what's going on. I don't know, I do better with it. Translucent effect, sure. Visible thrust, sure. These trails help you with firing. You can adjust the gamma if it's a little too dark. Generally keep the color depth 32. Let's see, menu sound, who cares? Beep, 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 beep when you click around. Ping graph, here I'll show you what ping graph does. Okay, so basically what you get is a graph of the ping rather than an actual ping. I prefer, I don't know, I think for most gamers you probably prefer a decent ping readout. Now you can edit the ping thresholds to show different values for this. So for example, you see when I adjusted this, now suddenly it says that this zone is pretty okay. Let's see. Oh, also, if you hold right click, you can see the information for a zone. So you click on it and then right click. Yeah, kind of handy. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and this shows in the graphical display, it shows the most recent ping. It kind of ticks along. So, and the graphical mode can be kind of handy. Let's see, options. Back to menu. Okay, so yeah, let's take off the ping graph. Yeah, but ping thresholds, 200 to 300. Now you see how the color has changed. Because this is below 200, it is now green, so that's good for me. I have a bad ping because most of these servers are in North America or Europe, and I'm not there myself. Because this is above 300, you get red. So yeah, that's handy if you want to just have an easy visual indicator of the ping. Skip splash screen, yeah, it just gets you in the game a little faster. And when you play thousands of hours of this game, like many people do, it's just a little bit, yeah, something else to get you in faster. Multi-fire starts on, some people like that. I usually have it off, and then I switch on to multi-fire, which is delete by default. Just yeah, it's, I don't know. You'll get it figured out what you actually want to do with that. Optional level graphics and sound, you should have that on. And show player ping times, that's useful. You can see what the ping is of another player in the game. It'll be a number after their name, and so you can figure out, oh, if somebody's lagging quite a lot, then yeah, you can deal with them a little differently. Maybe you'll anticipate them a little differently, or if they try to rush you, you know that they're gonna kind of lag when they do it, and it might be a little inaccurate reporting their position, that kind of stuff. Okay, that is options. Real quickly, let's go over the keyboard definitions. Let's see. So you can change what key definitions you have. So you can, you can create one for, say, for ship 1, and then another one here, ship 2. My 2 key stuff. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Okay, all right, cool. Hit default, step back to defaults, switch around. Yeah, let's see. This is real useful. Obviously, you want to know what a lot of these are. For the zone that I play, Trench Wars, the main thing that you're going to need to learn, obviously, left, right, forward, back. Those are good default keys. You can use the standard keys, or you can use the numpad. Some people actually prefer the numpad. Shift will boost you at the cost of some energy. Control will fire a bullet. Personally, I set this to space. Probably a lot of people will disagree with that as a thing to do, but it gives me an extra key, so I can assign control to other things. But if you hit space as bullet, then I believe in order to make messages work properly, you need to set message to enter. So that'll let you use the space key. But anytime you want to send a message, you need to press enter and then start typing your message. There's only one key for entering a message. Normally, you just start typing, and if it's not bound to a key, then you will start typing a message in chat, and it's what you start a message with that determines what kind of message it is. A team message, a private message, that kind of thing. And I'll try to cover that in the next video. Let's see. So most of these for Trench Wars are pretty... I'll set this back to... Oh, really? Yeah, okay, fine. Let's do defaults. Set this back to normal. Most of these keys for Trench Wars are going to be bomb. There's a few bombing ships. Ship 2, the Javelin, and Ship 4, the Levi or Leviathan, and also little Mr. Shark here, Ship 8. He's sort of the defensive ship. Okay, let's see. Mines, that's handy to know. Shift Tab, if you end up using the Shark, Shift Tab is a little bit awkward. I usually set that to X, and I set mine to, no wait, yeah, I set mine to X and repel, which is repel. Yeah, repel. I set to Z normally, but again, yeah, you'll work out how this works best for you. I strongly recommend trying different key sets though. And remember, if you hit enter for message, then you can use any of the keyboard keys for actual work. A lot of people use actual keyboard keys, letters, for various actions in the game, because you'll notice a lot of these, like insert, well, that's a pretty standard one to keep, because it's right near your arrow keys, but warping is really nice to have as a readily available key. So you might end up putting that on your left hand rather than your right hand, and leaving your right hand only for arrow keys. So yeah, kind of an option. Burst, that's good for, in Trench Wars, the tear. Yeah. So I don't know. You'll get a feel for what special functions you use and where you want to put them. Oh, here's a one you can try as well. Distinguish left and right, Alt, Control, and Shift. So you can use the two different ones. You might want to use right control for something, for example, because it's right by the arrow keys on a lot of keyboards. Let's see. Oh, this one, F2, cycle. That's sort of misleading. Cycle it opens up the player window. So that's a really useful one to have. You really want to be able to get that one down. F2 opens up the player window, and then from there you can use page up or page down to scroll through the players. I end up setting that to something else. Your call there, but yeah, I find setting cycle to something else is pretty handy. And the last thing, before I go to macros, you can use a joystick or gamepad with this. I haven't set this up in a while, and not many like high quality players end up using the joystick or gamepad. I'm sure there's one or two out there. I apologize to you in advance if you're out there and you're like, what the hell, this guy's an asshole. Yes, you can use joystick or gamepad and be good, but just know it's there. It's kind of fun, but because of the number of keys, most people end up using the keyboard. Also to be able to type messages quickly. Okay, and the last one is macros, which let you send text really quickly. These are the default keys: Shift F1, F2, F3. I usually end up setting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that kind of thing. Those are a little bit easier to access where your hand is on the left. And this lets you send messages really quickly. I use it especially for sending bot messages. So a lot of these zones will have bots. Here, make more sense. We'll go into the macros. So a lot of these zones will have bots rather than like commands or any special stuff that you'd enter. You actually end up sending private messages to bots in order to do stuff in game, or you'll send server commands. So to send a private message, you would say bot name surrounded by colons, and then the message that you want to send. So something like that, bot, and then it's often starting with an exclamation mark and command. Other commands will generally start with a question mark, so those are like server commands. Or you can send a chat command. Oh, and you notice there's different colors here, so it'll be green if it's a private message, blue if it's a public message. Here's a team message, and just a normal public message you can send that way. Let's see. This is a private message to person that is selected in F2 menu. And yeah, so there's a few different ways to do macros. Okay, let's see, is there anything else that I neglected? If you have a proxy, you can indeed play Subspace Continuum over a proxy. Good to know. If you have problems checking out where a zone is, where your problems are in terms of your net connection, this actually has a pretty damn good trace route. Like you can see, there's a lot of packet loss here, but that's actually, I think that's artificial. Anyway, yeah, it has all kinds of stuff. You can even, export your trace. Kind of cool. Okay, so going back, okay, advanced options. I actually don't know a hell of a lot about these, but some people find that, I think these are by default on. Some people find that these three options will provide a frame rate increase. Well, obviously that will, but that's not necessary. Let's see, so you might, if you're having problems in game, you might try switching these on one at a time and seeing what kind of results you get. Otherwise, you can probably just leave them alone. It's an old game and it should run pretty well on most systems. Some compatibility issues with newer versions of Windows, but for the most part, you should be okay. Okay, so I believe that is all. So let's end by trying to enter a zone with Steam Test User 5. I'll show you what happens when you enter with a name that has not been registered. Okay, unknown name. Would you like to create a new user and enter the game using this name? Yes. And like that, you are given the player information screen. This doesn't actually matter, but one thing, you may want to include a real email address here. If you ever want to recover this name, you need your real email. So you can put in Steam user at AOL.com. Real name. I can't remember if they actually verify any of this information. I don't think they do. I think the only thing is that you need to email them from this email. But it doesn't hurt to put this information in because this is tracked by pretty much nobody. It's an old system and it's just not tracked. So don't feel paranoid. Besides, the NSA knows everything about you anyway, so you're screwed as it is. So do all that, hit submit information. You'll get a news update. If you want, you can hit yes and read the news and tell you a little bit about the zone. Handy to read. Hit close and it should start to load the zone. You may be in for a small download at the start, but bear with it. It's a great game. I think you'll really enjoy it. So yeah, thanks for giving it a try. I hope you're able to see why so many of us have stuck with this game for so many years, and I hope you're really able to enjoy yourself. Okay, that is all. Good luck and see you in game.